It looks like the absolute DC universe had a crossover. So we finna get into this.
Is Rob, and we are
I'm not gonna
here
lie,
with DC
the absolute universe is crazy.
And I am so excited about this story. So let's get into it, right? So it starts off with Superman, and it says, here in the dark, in the moments before it begins, he tells himself it's just another fight, a brawl like countless ones before, a contest, a game to win. Hell, for this one, everyone even got to bring gear. Clark got to bring the Knuckles. He forged them in the fortress years ago after returning from the dead. Knuckles with miniature suns raging inside, angry suns taken from empty universes. He thought about calling them Dawn's Day Knuckles, but Lois shut that down fast because clearly Lois has no taste in naming weapons. Even so, with them, he's stronger, faster, ready to throw down. He's fought in other dimensions, other universes, fought gods, titans. What's one more fight? And then the doors open, and Superman is totally flabbergasted by what he sees. So, what this does is this jumps to a game between Superman, Diana, and Bruce. Now, this is not the tournament, right? But while they're going back and forth and playing this little bit of a game, which almost kind of seems like a superhero version of, like, I don't know, Chutes and Ladders or something, I'm not entirely sure. You end up finding out they've all kind of been brought together by Lois Lane, and it's just kind of R&R, right? It's a chance for them to sort of hang out as friends and to socialize and have a good time and that kind of thing. But then this monologue kicks in and it says, they play on, and as they do, they talk as friends, family, not colleagues or heroes. They joke, they talk about their children, they discuss private things that we'll return to very soon. An hour later, the game is still not over, though they're all within a few spaces of the watchtower, the finish line. Diana is about to toss what could be the winning roll when Lois says it. And she asks the question, why is it so bright outside? And it's bright outside because Darkseid is bringing the light.
What the? Nah. This art style is OD, I'm not gonna lie, bro. They made this nigga Darkseid look like a motherfucking god. I mean, he damn near is a god, but they made him look like a demon damn near. His design is OD.
Wrath to a world that has pissed him off. This dude is incensed because Darkseid is just there, right? And this monologue says the hero's oldest and greatest foe, maybe the most familiar enemy they have, but this Darkseid has become something else. He isn't just bigger, stronger, he's everything, a universe of power given form. Everywhere he looks, the city becomes his. But then Clark thinks it does not become his, it becomes him. Clark can see it happening. Every particle, every molecule, every atom is now of Darkseid. And as they charge him, Clark tells himself they've done this before. They fought Yuxas dozens of times and won. But deep down, he can feel it. This is different. And when he looks at his friends, he knows they feel it too, because the being out there, he exists beyond physics. He's somehow everywhere at once. He's more than a god. He is all godliness.
What the? No.
All the wonder.
Yo, he's turning all the. No, bro. He's turning all the DC superheroes into fucking Darkseids. Oh, it's over. I'm not gonna lie. It's over for these niggas. Nigga, the fuck Batman gonna do to this level of Darkseid?
And terror of the cosmos, because literally this fight against Darkseid is happening in every location at the same time. It is incredibly metatextual, but it's like Themyscira, Gotham City, the Rock of Eternity, so like the magical pantheon, right? Like John Constantine, Dr. Fate, Etrigan is here. And it says Darkseid has finally become what he was meant to be, the end of everything. Bruce
this nigga's Armageddon
first. then Diana, and now as Clark rockets toward Darkseid at Mach 7, he hears a sound he's never heard, a sound that stuns him so badly he barely feels the blast from Darkseid, the blast that ends him. And so then the question becomes, when does this happen? Because this is a future set of events that is being spoken to basically Justice League Unlimited by the Time Trapper. And initially, it's a little hard for Superman to believe. Now, for those of you guys that need a refresher on everything that's going on, again, there is a giant playlist that I've made with everything that you need to understand about what's going on with DCKO. At least it'll be made by the time this video gets released. But the whole idea behind Time Trapper is that it's basically just Doomsday, right? Doomsday's never been able to die, and so in the far-flung future, Doomsday quite literally becomes the keeper of time. And so everything that you're seeing here with the events of DCKO, this is all part of the warning that Time Trapper gave to Superman when he first appeared and told him, you have to help me in my quest. If you do not, terrible things will happen the longer this goes on.
Bro, Doomsday and Superman team up against Darkseid, that's when you know the world is damn near over. I'm not gonna lie, bro. If them two teaming up, it's over. Especially if this nigga Doomsday is actually talking now. Yeah, it's quiet for Earth.
We don't exactly know what it was the Time Trapper needed from Superman specifically. Of course, Superman turned the idea down, but the fact is, this is all part of that. And so where Superman is a little hesitant to believe what it is that, like, Time Trapper is saying, that at that moment, Batman gets a text from Lois where she just says, reminder, game night in 1 week, our place, no excuses. And so that's the crazy thing, because now they know Time Trapper's telling the truth. And he says, we of the Quantum Quorum have managed to combine our chronal powers to rewind time by 7 days. And of course, we know by virtue of this comic, it's kind of laid out for us, that Doomsday, Grodd, and Booster Gold are the Quantum Quorum. But Time Trapper continues on, and he says, Darkseid has already conquered the future, and right now, he's making his way back through time to this moment. And so the question's asked, right? Like, how do we stop him this time? Because they just kind of see it as like Darkseid doing Darkseid things. We've stopped him before, we'll stop him again. But Time Trapper's response is, this time, you do not. And he says, World Forger, show them. Now, World Forger is a holdover from all the old Scott Snyder Dark Multiverse stories, but it's exactly what he sounds like. A guy who creates worlds, right? Forges worlds. He's technically a child of Perpetua, but all that kind of seems to be ignored or undone, and World Forger is just kind of like the last guy who remains, and DC's kept him around. But at the end of the day, Time Trapper says, the timeline before you is the history of our universe. The flame just ahead of this moment is him. We've explored every variation, and no matter what you try, he consumes you and moves on. It all ends here in this moment with Darkseid. And their whole thing is like, there has to be something that we can do to defeat this guy. And Grodd is just like, nope, there really is nothing. And even like Booster Gold is asked, right? I mean, you're a guy who manipulates the time stream. You're a superhero. There has to be something. And at that point, Booster just tells Hal, right? We've watched you try 1,000 things 1,000 times, and you always lose. From what we've seen, there is only one thing that you can do. And the question is, what's that? And the response of Time Trapper, give up and start over. And the question is asked, like, what do you mean, start over? And Trapper just says, right, we are the most powerful temporal beings in the universe, and if we use the last bit of our energy, we might be able to create something. And that's where Mr. Terrific chimes in and says, a new timeline for us. You cannot be serious, right? And the Time Trapper says, very serious, Mr. Terrific. Not that long ago, a being did this very thing here at this inflection point, restarted you all, restarted everything and everyone. Eventually,
and
this timeline was reabsorbed, but for a brief period, it existed outside the larger reality. So they're talking about a reboot. They're talking about resetting the entirety of the DC continuity. And Nightwing is just like, and how did that turn out for us again? For Nightwing, it didn't turn out that well, because you guys all remember the whole Rick Grayson storyline.
I don't remember
Didn't
it
turn
at
out
all.
that well for Dick Grayson. But still, Zatanna asked the question, if you did this, would we even remember? Would we be the same people? And the statement is made, no, you would be all new. And so that's where Aquaman chimes in and is like, look, there's an Atlantean proverb, every new wave is ancient. This reality is our history, our story, and without it, what would we be? And the statement is made that you would be alive. And again, the superheroes basically reject it, right? And so Batman just says, enough, right? We need to understand what we're up against. How did Darkseid become this? And so that is where you start to get this explanation from the Time Trapper that really kind of taps into the video that we made before when we were talking about how Darkseid created the absolute universe in the first place. But effectively, Time Trapper says to understand him, you must understand what he seeks. Our universe is full of mysterious energies, but since its inception, its two most primal are the twin energies that we call Alpha and Omega. Alpha is the energy of creation, wild and explosive. Nearly all planets with life are sources of alpha energy, but not Apocalypse. And Apocalypse's core is an infernal machine, a heart that runs on Omega energy, the antithesis of life, the energy of conquest, absorption, control. And when Darkseid sought it eons ago, it chose him as its champion and transformed him into the enemy that you have fought so many times. From that moment on, he has sought to turn Earth, reality's greatest source of alpha energy, into a new apocalypse. And so when he formed...
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. At this point, nigga, y'all just had to move planets, bro. I would have been moved planets if this nigga Darkseid kept trying to come to Earth and conquer it and turn it into the new apocalypse. Like, I'm not dealing with that shit all the time. Fuck out of here. Especially if I'm Superman, nigga. I'm always getting my ass beat by this nigga. Hell no. I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm out of there. Human race might have to go extinct at that point. Fuck them niggas. Real shit.
His new universe, he placed a heart of Apocalypse at its primordial Earth center. All Omega energy in that realm flows to him, making him absolute. Thus, he has become that universe's King Omega, the personification of all its Omega energy, a walking singularity that transforms all around him. Now, it is important to understand, most people in the Absolute Universe don't know this. While Absolute Martian Manhunter is aware of Darkseid within that universe, and that Darkseid seems to be the great manipulator or creator of that universe, even Martian Manhunter doesn't really seem to understand the full scope of what Time Trapper is talking about here. Absolute Joker had seemingly learned about the Omega particle, right? The particle of energy that feeds back into Darkseid, and he had basically theorized, right, that it's the inverse of what we're learning here. It starts with the Omega and ends with the Alpha. So basically a universe that is the antithesis of what a heroic universe would look like, which makes sense given how terrible the Absolute Universe is. And so in a lot of ways, what we're basically being told here is that the Absolute Universe is not that dissimilar from Earth 3. The crime syndicate of America, that sort of thing. Except this time, it's a universe created by Darkseid. But after explaining all of this, Trapper says, this is why we must act quickly. This Earth is already transforming upon his approach. Many of you have likely sensed the heart of Apocalypse growing at its center. And that's what Mr. Terrific recognizes the issue that Aquaman has been dealing with, right? The fire pits and the parademons popping up around the globe last year. That was covered in the Aquaman comics. No, we have not covered that comic, so you have not missed it. But Batman simply says, if there's a heart of Apocalypse forming at the center of our Earth right now, could we use it to transform one of us into something like him, a King Omega? And that's initially an awesome idea.
That's why you need a nigga like Batman on your team. He's the only type of nigga that's ever gonna think of some diabolical, fucked up shit like that, bro. Real shit, bro. He's the only person who's gonna think of some shit like that. That's why you always need a nigga like Batman on your team.
Kind of like, I mean, it is an idea, right? Gorilla Grodd is like, it's a terrible idea. But still, right, Trapper says, impossible, right? The heart is cosmically connected to Darkseid. It serves him only. But notice, it only serves Darkseid because of his role, because of his mentality and what he pursues. It's not inherently tied to Darkseid. It's not like a DC Comics equivalent of like the ultimate nullifier, right? It was created by Galactus and Galactus holds it. No. This is just something that chose him because of the nature of Darkseid. And in fact, Trapper says that to change that, you need to restart it entirely, blast it with Omega energy that you do not have. But Batman says we do not, but Booster Gold does. He was stranded in the Absolute Universe for years. He is brimming with Omega energy because keep in mind, right, when they first discovered the Absolute Universe, not knowing what it was, they sent Booster Gold to go investigate. He was immediately attacked by the Absolute Legion of Superheroes, which is in that universe just called Darkseid's Legion. And when that happened, he was held captive. He was held prisoner as a means for them to be able to manipulate the time stream in the first place. And so Batman asks, then show us, right? Show us what we would have to do in order to use the heart that Darkseid has placed basically in Earth for our own ends to defeat him. And that's where the World Forger says, you must understand the heart is a living thing, sentient, reborn. It would immediately seek a champion, someone fueled by conquest and conquest only. You all, you're heroes. You're soft as hell. And it's really more Gorilla Grodd that just kind of says they're soft as hell than anything else. But Trapper says, even
they won't
hungry
beat the
and
fuck
new,
out of this
it would not let your
monkey-ass
kind
nigga, bro.
near it.
Come on,
It would
bro.
defend itself. And when the question is asked, how? Trapper says, it's fourth dimensional, not bound by our physics. By my calculations, it would reshape itself to test you, create a tournament. Each of these rings would be a higher level of challenge. And so at that point, right, the Flash is just like, I mean, we could take on parademons, right? And that's where Grodd's like, not parademons, you idiot. Each other. You would be competing with each other. And the World Forger says it would be a competition to find an ultimate conqueror among you, a champion. To prove you're worthy, one of you would have to defeat all the others and then defeat the heart itself. Then the universe will bend toward you. You will become the sole celestial entity, a being perhaps capable of facing Darkseid. And so Batman asks the question, and this person, if they do defeat Darkseid, they could bring it all back on the other side, right? Everyone and everything lost, because Batman's already predicting this tournament is going to have casualties. People are going to die. And Booster is like, I mean, in theory, potentially, right? Whoever wins should be able to reshape the universe however they want. And that's where Trapper is just like, why are you encouraging this, Booster Gold? And Booster Gold just says, look, I was trapped in that place for years, and maybe the only thing that can really defeat Darkseid is someone like Darkseid. And so Trapper then asks the question, and it's the one question that everybody has a difficult time answering, as he says, fine, then answer me this, heroes. The heart responds only to Omega energy, the energy of conquest. Every ring you enter will test you further in strength, cunning, strategy, and to prevail, you must fill the heart's fire pits to match Darkseid's power. That means you must compete only to win. No mercy, no compassion. Can you truly do that? And Superman just says, forget it, right? We are not doing this. And so what you get
The only
is this
person
really,
who
really
could
interesting
do that
moment
is Batman.
where
I'm
Wonder
not gonna
Woman
lie.
and Batman approach Superman because they realize that in this tournament, they need him, right? Having no idea how this whole thing is going to turn out, they do need him. And so they tell him a couple things. Like, number one, the world is already his. We're racing against time, right? Darkseid's racing towards us. We're racing towards him. This is the final stop. If we do not stop him here by whatever means necessary, he will win. And there is no way for us to be able to overcome him besides something like this. There are no other ideas. And so Superman asks, he says, we do this, right? Really do it. And what's to stop the villains from following us down there, right? Imagine Joker in this tournament. Imagine Lex, if they were to win and they were to have that power. And so that's where Wonder Woman is like, you spent the last year turning the Phantom Zone from something punitive into a place of healing. We can put our adversaries there, at least for right now, and we can keep them safe. Batman even comments and says, we can keep them out. And Superman even asks a statement, even if we go compete in this thing, who's going to protect the world while we're gone? And that's where Wonder Woman says, that's what the League is discussing right now. And Bruce just says, this could work, Clark. I mean, think about it. But the kicker about all of this is that Superman is thinking about that moment, right, when he experienced what was basically the death of himself. That sound he heard that blew him away. The sound that he heard was every heart on Earth beating in unison, because they had all become Darkseid. Darkseid won. Right, in that moment, before he kills Clark, Darkseid had won. And so that's why Batman tells him it's a game, Clark. And quite literally, he kind of pitches like a Dragon Ball Z type scenario, right? Like, no matter the casualties that we experience, we can basically bring everybody back. Right?
Exactly.
Whoever has that level of power can restore things to the way they were before. And so ultimately, they have 7 days to prepare. Once Superman's on board, they have 7 days until the tournament starts.
Nigga better get on board.
They move to secure the villains. Modified T-spheres are sent to a list of the world's most dangerous criminals. Terrific hates what they are about to do, but he also knows that this is about as fair as they can be right now. And so they approach the Joker, right? They approach Victor Freeze. They approach Killer Croc, right? Seemingly everybody in Belle Reve Prison. King Shark, Black Manta, Lex Luthor, like the list goes on and on and on. They start rounding up all these various villains, the most dangerous villains from across Earth. Superman approaches the United Nations and speaks to world leaders and telling them what it is that they are going to do and what their plan will be, that they will ultimately have to leave Earth for a period of time. However, the world will not be unprotected, that the world will be protected by the Titans and Mr. Terrific.
Bro, the Titans ain't protecting shit, bro. Let's be fucking for real, bro. Even though they're led by Dick, bro, like, be for real, bro. Starfire's protecting them against, like, come on, Raven. Who else? Damian Wayne. Like, no, them niggas, Beast Boy, nah, them niggas not protecting the Earth against shit. Let's be for real.
I feel like they're doing my boy dirty. Mr. Terrific 100% should be a part of this tournament, but they're doing him dirty. They're just having him play babysitter for humanity on Earth. And so it says on the 5th day, they prepare for the tournament. They go to war rooms and bunkers and sacred vaults and choose their gear. What to pick, though, well, there's no telling what challenges the tournament will bring. Some go on offense,
and they're taking Cyborg with them
for strategy. A few choose defensive measures. Others, like Clark, just choose what feels right because it's Superman. On the 6th day, it's time. With the villains locked away and the world fortified and prepared, they set off. Many of them are selfless. Some are more complicated. Humans, aliens, gods, monsters, over 100 of the world's heroes in all. They're friends, many are more than friends, but right now, they're headed to compete with one another in a tournament without mercy. The closer they get, the less real it feels. And then suddenly, they have arrived. And so that's when you pick up with the moment where Superman leaves his cell, if you want to call it that, steps out there, and there's 3 gigantic guys waiting for him. And so once Superman is told to step back, right, and to wait his turn, we actually see some pretty dope faces here. Swamp Thing, Plastic Man, right? Like, it's dope to see these guys here. And so these Titans address all the superheroes present. And they say, those of you who cross the gauntlet early shall move on, but the rest perish. But beware, one wrong step, and you may find yourself out. The contest begins at the drop of the mace. And when the mace hits, it even kind of catches Superman by surprise. And they just say, you may begin. And so Superman goes and attacks these guys. But that's where Batman says, Clark, get your head in the game. Because it's not about these 3 Titans that they're facing off against.
This nigga Superman never fucking listens,
and they do represent a credible threat. The end goal is the
fuck
finish
attention,
line.
nigga.
It's essentially a race. And so the funny thing about this is that this is a combination of well-known superheroes and obscure superheroes, like Damage, right?
Who?
Damage finally gets his chance to shine.
What the fuck
literally
is
gets
that?
crushed, right? We're told up ahead, Jay Garrick is racing toward the glowing portal marking the end zone when he suddenly takes a bad step and triggers their arrival, a form of parademon from the furthest point in time where Darkseid is at full saturation, omega demons made from all species of life. And so Harley Quinn, with her giant mallet, just like calls Red Hood Zombie Boy, which is kind of hilarious, right? I feel like we should just start calling him that from now on. And he just tells her, right, like, you know, Harley, this is pretty much exactly how I picture the inside of your mind. And she's like, on a slow day, which I'd hate to see the inside of that girl's head on a busy day. But like Wonder Woman's destroying these guys, right? She's just like saying back to hell. Plastic Man, of course, is easily crushing all these Omega demons. This is child's play for somebody like Plastic Man. And even the Green Lanterns are unifying here, right, to face off against all these guys. Lobo is present.
They got Lobo in this
He's doing
bitch?
what he can in destroying these Omega demons that, like, Ambush Bug, a Keith Giffen character from 1982, who is the definition of obscurity. He's basically just a guy who can teleport. Like, this guy comes running in, and he even says, like, obscure character in a massive, line-wide comic coming through. I'm at extremely high risk of death, because one of the big kickers about Ambush Bug is he's one of the only characters who knows that he's in a comic book, but, like, Ambush Bug gets crushed. And so this monologue continues on. Clark throws himself at the Omega Demons. Heat Vision, Frost Breath, Kiloton punches. The knuckles burn, and he tells himself he's doing it. He's competing. But if you look at him, if you really look, he's not. In the shadows, the fire pits hiss angrily. Behind him, heroes begin to cross the finish line. Diana, Mary, Kara, because without even realizing it, Clark is hanging back. Instead of blasting through, he's clearing the way for his friends.
Yo, this nigga Superman might be one of the dumbest superheroes Yo, this is exactly why I don't like this nigga. This nigga's too pure at heart, my nigga. That's why, nigga, I fuck with Batman so heavy, my nigga. He's gonna do what you need to fucking do to protect the world, bro. Like, Superman too nice, bro. Like, nigga, it's okay to, like, nigga, it's good to be a good person. Like, it's good to be nice, but it's better to be a good man rather than be nice. Because nice people do shit for others, and a good man does shit that needs to be done for everybody around him, no matter what it takes. I'm telling you, bro. I can't stand Superman in comics sometimes, bro. This nigga be bullshit.
More make it through. 5, 10, the portal begins to shrink. Clark fights on. 15 are through. The portal shrinks further.
Don't tell me this
will
nigga
be
Batman
allowed to
died,
cross
bro.
before it closes? Now 18. Carter makes 19. Of course, Carter Hall, Hawkman. And it says it occurs to Clark that he hasn't seen Bruce cross yet, which surprises him. If anyone was going to make it through. And that's when Batman shows up. And he says, focus, right? You need to stay. And in that moment, Batman gets stabbed through the chest, right? Literally stabbed right through the chest. But it turns out it's not like a knife or a sword or a dagger or anything. Batman got harpooned because at the end of it is a flag.
Don't tell me it's
says,
Joker.
Bang. And you guys know exactly what that means, because then it says a blast hits Clark, knocking him off his feet. And when he looks up, they're all right there. It's the Joker, Giganta, Cheetah, King Shark, Lex Luthor, Starro, and Joker just says, I guess Batman doesn't always win. Right? And so Bruce just tells Clark, remember what I said. So Bruce is dead. Batman dies like that, right? And so the monologue comes in. How did the villains escape? How did they get here? Clark has no time to figure it out. It only takes them moments to rush the finish line. Giganta makes it through. Joker, then Lex. But before he crosses the finish line, Lex turns to Superman and smiles. And there's something in Lex's smile. It takes Clark a moment to realize that it's pity. It's a smile that says, go save a cat from a tree. But leave this to us, Boy Scout. He thinks back to game night, to Bruce's words, his fists curl, and then no one knows what hit them. The Titans, the Omega Demons, the heart itself. In Superman's ears
this is the fucking Superman I like.
As he blasts through, like sun splitting open. But it's not the impact of his fists or him breaking the barriers of physics. It's the pounding of a single heart in his ears, his own, as he crosses the finish line and takes the last spot. All around, the fire pits sing. And so it says, now behold your 32 champions.
Thank you,
and this
bro.
list of 32 champions is dope. It looks absolutely amazing. Etrigan, right? I mean,
Yo,
it looks,
Lex
it's
Luthor's
phenomenal.
art design
I love
is
the way
OD.
this
I
whole
fuck
thing
with
looks.
it.
It's incredible, right? Thumbnail galore.
Damian Wayne made the bit?
And
No,
so
hell
this
no.
whole
We
thing
not
looks-
gonna let this shit slide. So Batman didn't make the 32 list, but this nigga Damian did? Come on, fool. I don't even know if that is Damian. That shit might be Tim Drake. Nah, that's definitely Damian. That nigga got the hood on with some swag. Tim Drake
Incredible,
don't have
right?
that in his
Thumbnail
repertoire.
galore
Real
out of this
shit.
whole thing. And so that's
Don't.
where the monologue comes back in and it says, I can tell you the answer now if you would like. I am the heart of Apocalypse after all. So basically, this is the one that's been giving us this entire monologue. And this is when the story really gets amazing because he says, the one who crowned Darkseid so long ago. So yes, I know who will join the ranks of the fallen. I know all the twists and turns that await them. So many, the surprises
Shazam?
coming, like his 3 destroyers, horsemen from a world where his rule is absolute. Monsters, and these are just some of the horrors that await. But if you want to know the real truth, the final one, I will tell you. It's that none of them win. Not Clark, not Diana, not Mary, nor Eel. None of them. Not absolute Batman, not absolute Superman, and not absolute Wonder Woman. Because what they don't know is that there is one last champion among them, the king himself.
It's
Darkseid having taken the form of one of their own. So no, friend, the game is not beginning. It's already over. Because the person that
What the
Darkseid
fuck?
seems to have possessed is Booster Gold. Comic Drake is gonna lose his mind. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end.
That's fucking crazy, bro.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like.
That's
Make sure you
crazy.
guys hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.
That's wild, my nigga. Yo, DC is really doing its thing right now, bro. I'm not gonna hold you. DC, yo, DC is definitely over Marvel right now. I'm not gonna hold you. In the comic world, for sure. For sure, ski.